Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your Chestnut Fairy and I'm so happy to see you again. As you heard, my last video was in German, but I'm turning back to English because it's way easier for me and it's kind of weird if I change it right now. It was just an important video, but I will also do it in English soon, so don't worry, you don't miss out. So let's start with this video. It is cosplay season, as I said, because the Dokumi is in 3 weeks right now and I'm quite busy. I am going to make 3 cosplays, and you already saw the wig styling video for my Harvest Moon goddess, and she's also kind of done right now. I just forgot to film it. However, I didn't forget to film this process. In this case, it is the dress for Sophie from Hole's Moving Castle. You know this movie by now, it is so popular. But I didn't want to make the blue dress and not the yellow dress. I wanted to make the slightly more green dress from the beginning of the movie. And so I just started this journey sewing with my antique machine. The first thing I did was searching through a lot of Etsy patterns to find the right one, and finally I laid my eyes on this pattern, which was a Victorian inspired dress, which is perfect for Sophie's green dress. I think a lot of the dresses in the movie have the same pattern and you just can adjust the sleeves. As an example, the green dress has different sleeves and also a few more ruffles. However, you could use this pattern to make the other 2 dresses. As you see, this pattern has a lot of pages and it may look complicated. However, it took around a few hours to put everything together and cut it out. But that is because the pattern is very big, so don't worry about it. Normally pattern pinning doesn't take a lot of time, but in this case it did. Maybe just because I'm lazy and it was a very long day, but after a while I put everything together and then taped it down with normal duct tape and then just cut out the pattern. While I cut this pattern, I didn't have any fabric, so I went to the next village in my area, which has a very great fabric shop, and searched for just a normal cotton fabric. However, they didn't have any, but I found this green grayish color with a little bit of texture, and I think it is great because in a lot of cosplay dresses they look kind of plain and unrealistic. And I mean, of course, it is an anime or a video game. However, I want to portray it as realistic as possible, so having kind of a pattern makes it more interesting in a dress. After having a very successful moment at the fabric store, I then laid the fabric down and started to cut out my pattern. This was quite easy and very joyful, and then I just started sewing. The first thing I did was the upper part because I wanted to make the bodice first. The first thing I did was to just gather the top part because it has a bit more fabric than your normal chest size and it gives it a little bit more volume, and when you look at the dress it also has the same kind of pattern. Sadly, my first try didn't work out. It wasn't as roughly as I wanted, and this is very normal because I am not the biggest expert in sewing with an antique machine. It takes a lot of practice, so I just resewed the part again and it was much easier than before. While I pulled at the thread of the fabric, I realized that I didn't sew it correctly because you need to make it a very specific way when you gather the fabric. I can't explain it, it's kind of a magical thing, but I realized that it was way too big and I needed to resew it again. As you realized, I kind of got a bit frustrated, but I pushed through and then just sewed down more folds. Finally, after 3 takes, I finished this part of the bodies. However, there is still a collar that needs to be made and also backside. To make this collar, I just sewed down 2 pieces of the collar and I will later add a button. And the first thing you need to do is to add the ruffled part to the collar, and it was kind of complicated because the ruffled part is still not specifically correct, so you need to adjust the ruffled part while pinning down the fabric, but it worked, and after that I just sewed it together. The front part was done and I just looked if I sewed everything correctly or if I did make a mistake, which quite often happens because I'm just a beginner. I then used my dress form and put all 3 pieces, the back side, the front and the collar together to look how it would looking the end and if I need to adjust anything, because the waist was a little bit too big in the pattern, but it said that I need to size up if I'm between two sizes, so I did just that, even though it will be a mistake in the end. I will tell you, it was quite irritating and frustrating when I put this on because it didn't fit at all at the waist. I only sewed one side because in the other side I will add a zipper so I can just easily slip in or out of the dress. As you see, a lot of pieces of the upper part are already done, but I needed to make the collar, and for that I used one long strip of fabric and a little bit of lace that I put inside of the fabric, and then just used some interface to make it a bit more stiffer, and then I just pinned everything down and then sewed it down. For this I used my normal machine because I am quite afraid that with this heavy and thick fabric that it will break. So for this thing I will use the modern invention of an electronic sewing machine. Also, this color is also too big on me. I don't know what happened and why it happened, but the sizing is kind of infuriating and it was a bit crazy, but I think it's my fault because my body isn't just adjusted to the pattern, as you would say, because they have a lot of size varieties, they have a very good description, so I think it's kind of my own fault because I just have a very different body form from the dress that it wants to be intended. So I just didn't worry about it and started sewing and put the color in together, and later realized, oh damn, this is way too big. Also, a quick side note, I forgot to film how I sewed the collar in, but the collar is sewn with my hand, which is very stressful, but it worked, and afterwards I started with the skirt. The skirt was very easy. I used a lot of fabric, I think over 2 meters for the skirt, so it would have a little bit of volume and it would twirl a little bit better. And for the skirt I just pinned everything down to see how long it should be and how much of the ruffles should be at the places on the side, on the back and on the front. And it took some time because I just tried out how the folds should happen, and then I just decided that I will also ruffle it like at the beginning. But it would take some time because, as I said, this piece of fabric is very long. And I also, when I sew this on the upper part, will need to leave one side open so I can add a zipper again. The next chaos ensued when I realized that my under thread wasn't showing anymore and the fabric wasn't sewn, so I needed to exchange it. The first thing you do is to have enough yarn for the inside, and this is the little thing that you need to put inside the machine that will be used to pull the thread up. And I sewed everything down. And after this little chaos, it became even more chaotic because I needed to ruffle everything, the full 3 meters of fabric that are going into the skirt, and it took some time. I also needed to sew the hem, which in this case I used my electronic sewing machine again because I was just getting tired and I needed to get this cosplay done because I wanted to wear it at the Japan Day, and I also did it, so it needed to be done very quickly. I sewed everything down, then sewed it on the bodice part, and after looking if I had everything done and adding a few buttons, I tried it on. And as you see, it was way too big. At least 10 centimeters of fabric were behind my back, and it was a lot of stress to change the size of this thing. I firstly sewed in some part of the bodice to make my bag smaller, and then I added elastic because it was just way too big, and even then it wasn't quite fitting, so I needed to add a pink bow in the back to make my waistline very snatched. But after all this pain and stitching and sewing, the thing was done. This dress was ready, and as you see, these are the results. As you see, the dress is finally done, and I'm very happy with this experiment because it was quite a journey to sew this dress, especially because of the sizing. It was so frustrating. However, now it is done. I am happy, and I already wore it to the Nihon or Japan Day, and I got a lot of compliments, and I'm just very happy because I sewed it myself, and it has more quality than some of the dresses you can buy. And I also take a lot of pride in sewing my own stuff because sewing gives you so much more respect for clothing, and you learn more about the value of clothing and quality of fabrics. And this cosplay is also very nice for beginners, I think, because a dress is very simple to sew and not as complicated as many other cosplays where you don't even have a sewing pattern and have to create your own. So maybe you can check out the Etsy store where I bought this pattern and sew something, or just enjoy my pain and suffering while sewing. As this project took me about 3 weeks just because I didn't have much time at some points, and I also was very lazy with the fabric. And for the pattern, I think it just took a day to print it and then put it all together and glue it together and then cut it out. So this was very time consuming, but expect from this part it was very enjoyable to do. And also I am just very proud because this was the first time I sewed a more closed dress. Normally when I sew dresses they just end here and not at my neck. So it was a new challenge, and I mean a new challenge is great. I guess that's all. Maybe I see a few of you guys at the Dokumi, and stay tuned for one of the last videos I will make in my cosplay series because I don't have much time to film, but I promise there will be one for a Genshin character. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay magical. Your chestnut.